You've met the particle accelerator. Now you shall meet his brother, Axolotl. So, LIGHTL4RK still exists. I kind of forgot that they exist too, and I have read these damn things. The most recent book is called Crown Tide, but I'm calling it LIGHTL4RK. LIGHTL4RK is the next chapter on the journey of Isla Crown, the bestest, most specialist, most magicalist, most prettiest girl in the world. I could elaborate more, but that's kind of all that there is. In Book 1, she's so special that she ends the magical curses, which no one else had been able to end for centuries. In Book 2, she's so pretty that she starts a war, and then she ends that same war also by being pretty. In Book 3, she's so magical that her ancestors came back to life to take her power and use it for their evil plans. Like, it's all the same thing. Quick reminder, at the end of Book 3, Isla left LIGHTL4RK and went to another world by accident, and her two boyfriends, Oro and Grimm, resolved to go and rescue her. Now, I know some people are going to get upset at me for referring to them as her boyfriends, because technically her and Grimm are married, but given how little commitment she has to their relationship, I'm not going to call him her husband. He's just her boyfriend. LIGHTL4RK ends exactly where the third book left off. And look, obviously LIGHTL4RK is bad, but it's bad in a different way than I expected. Because it's not like the other books where it's just a quest for various magical MacGuffins that we've never heard of until now. In fact, this book largely just takes place in a couple of rooms, so it's boring in a different way.
Oh, fuck off!
It introduces a new villain, but every book so far has introduced a new villain. You know, in Book 1 it was Aurora, and then in Book 2 it was Grimm, kind of, and then in Book 3 it was LIGHTL4RK, and now it's a new guy named Cronin. But Cronin has more presence in the story than the other villains, except for, again, Grimm, but Grimm has never really been a villain. Like, he's just been the main character's boyfriend who is always on her side, but the author wants to make him look kind of dark and edgy for some reason. Look, the point is, Cronin, the new villain in this book, does have a bit more to him than you might expect, and while he's not really scary or intimidating, he is powerful. And I'm not trying to hype him up. Again, like, this book overall is not an improvement over the others. Because for every one thing that this book does better than the previous books, something is done worse. You know, the love triangle is still there, and it's still just as terrible and obnoxious, but it takes up far more time in this book than in the earlier ones. There are still a bunch of random creatures and monsters that the heroes have to fight, and it's very obvious that the author is just trying to keep the audience from falling asleep by injecting random action scenes into the middle of the story. The magic and the world building still makes no fucking sense at all, but if you've watched my earlier videos on this, then you already know all that. Many of you only watch these LIGHTL4RK reviews because you're curious about what happens, but you don't want to spend time, money, and or energy reading these books. And that is completely understandable. I understand why you feel that way. So I'm just reading them basically for your benefit. Now, before anyone says anything, I know there are 2 spin-off novellas called Oro and Grimm. I'm not reading them. Like, I just don't feel like it. Like, I'm not reading these LIGHTL4RK books because I'm chasing a trend. Like, most people don't really care about them anymore. I'm reading them because I just feel like it, and I find it amusing. And I don't feel like reading those 2 novellas, so I'm not going to do it. And if there's any important information in those novellas, then that's just further shitty writing. Like, you should not have vital information in the spin-off books, which I've seen authors do that before. Apparently the author of Shatter Me did that. It's not my fault that the writer is shitty. It's not my fault. So, like, if I miss something and you're like, oh, well, it's in the spin-offs, I don't care. I just don't. Anyways, I will be doing a summary of the plot, and then I'll go over some of my thoughts and opinions in more detail after that. So from here on out, there's going to be spoilers. If you care about that, then see you later. Goodbye. Say goodbye to Axolotl, too. He liked you.
You say Dimitri is a god. Well, I'm an atheist. An atheist with a big gun.
So the best way to start my summary is to simply read the first sentence of the book. Oro Ray never thought he would see Grimm Malvir, demon ruler of Nightshade, cry. That sounds like something I would have written when I was 12 and thought it was like super cool and deep. But Grimm is honestly just whiny and annoying, and he's always been whiny. He just doesn't cry when he whines normally. So this isn't unusual. So I will say that while the previous books have exclusively followed Isla, this book actually cuts between Isla, Grimm, and Oro, and all of them contribute about an equal amount to the plot. Which is to say, not that much, but at least they're all equal. And a bit of credit where it's due. These books have always been written in third person. Like so many other terrible books in this young adult fantasy genre would have multiple first-person POV characters, and they would all have the exact same narrative voice, and this avoids that trap. Like, the writing style and the point of view actually stays consistent. It's consistently bad, but it is consistent. See, authors, it's not that hard. And while the actual events that we're following aren't good, they are all at least important to the story. And the events are all different. You know, stuff that happens from Isla's point of view is different than the stuff that happens from Grimm and Oro's point of view. So there's not a whole bunch of repetition. So again, this is already better than 80% of Romantasy, where they just switch between 2 or 3 different characters and we're just seeing the exact same events multiple times. Yes, I'm still salty about Powerless. That book is fucking disgusting. So like I said, the last book ended with Isla going to another world. Immediately after she leaves, Grimm attacks Oro. They fight for a bit, and Grimm puts a knife to his neck, and he asks if he loves Isla, and then he says yes, and then he lets him go. Riveting. Grimm spends multiple pages thinking about how Isla is the light in his life, and he wants to murder everyone except her because he's just so good to her and not at all suffering from a variety of mental illnesses. Now, if you recall, they have a wedding bond. Like, he gave her a magical necklace which bonds them together, and now he can track her from that. But apparently, the diamond on her magical necklace is the most powerful magic stone in the world, which Grimm never mentioned before now because... Look, man, we are on page 9 and we are just drowning in bullshit already. The diamond is just called Infinite, you know, with a capital I, and we find out that Grimm has a sister named, that might be Lila or Layla, I'm not totally sure how to pronounce that, but she lives on the island where Infinite was stored, or at least she used to, because we just go to a flashback here, and so Grimm, like, goes to the island to retrieve Infinite, and because he wants to give it to Isla because she's just so special and he loves her so much, and then, you know, he sees his dead sister's ghost and she taunts him and he's scared for some reason all of a sudden. I don't want power. I don't want riches. I want something far more precious. I want her. Forever. Until the end of time. And then a while after that. That is all I want. You are an immortal king with world-destroying magic. Shut the fuck up. I seriously cannot stand when violent bullies act like you just kicked a puppy because you were rude to them, or you pointed out the contradictions in what they say. Fuck off, man. So again, he wants the diamond so that he can save/protect Isla, even though the diamond was never mentioned to be important before this. I guess he just wanted to be dramatic. The important part is that Isla, we cut to her, she's in the other world, and she has no powers. Her magic is all gone. For now. She gets it back later because the story demands it. We learn that yet another oracle has yet another prophecy about someone who is of both worlds saving everything. And anyways, Isla pursued Lark into this other world at the end of the last book, so they chase each other for a bit. Then they both get captured by some masked people because neither of them have their powers, and they get dragged through a desert. Cut back to Grimm and Oro. They go to the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, apparently there's an ancient prison at the bottom of the ocean, so they just jump in and then they find like an area where they can all breathe, and there's a bunch of like dead people chained up down there, and honestly that's kind of cool. And my immediate first thought was, how is this book gonna screw this up? The prisoners all attack Grimm and Oro. okay for some reason. They just do that. And then the battle lasts hours, which feels weird while reading because it's only a couple of sentences. Like, Alex Astor just wrote, the battle lasted hours. And so it just feels odd because the combatants don't act like they're tired or anything, so it doesn't feel like it's been a long battle. And it also makes them look kind of weak for having trouble against these random emaciated monsters. Like, aren't both of these guys supposed to be army-destroying kings with incredible magic powers? No? Okay, whatever. Anyways, while they're down there, they find some useful information. They find out about Cronin, who is some evil dude who hops dimensions and stuff, and he needs Isla, because she's important. She's the main character. Duh. Cronin is one of their ancestors. He's one of the founders of LIGHTL4RK, just like Lark. Lark Crown. That is... The names in these books are so fucking stupid, man. Again, Isla is the key to whatever evil plans Cronin has. She's the main character. She's the key to literally everything. And while they're down there, they also find some golden threads called the Threads of Time, which can apparently unravel the universe if you use them improperly. And Isla needs them to save the world. So Oro and Grimm take the threads and they leave the prison. Meanwhile, Isla and Lark escape their captors, and while they're on the run, they go through a magical forest that shows them their past.
Why are you the way that you are?
You know, the cliche of showing characters their worst memories or their worst fears is, you know, a very well-worn cliche, but it's even worse when the characters themselves know that it's not real going into it. Like, Lark just straight up tells Isla at the beginning, like, hey, it's gonna show you some really bad memories, just be prepared. So, like, they know it's not real, and we know it's not real, so it's hard to give a shit. And whenever they do this, it always seems to be information that the audience is already familiar with, so I'm not sure why they're throwing that in there. Like, Isla sees her horrible memories, where she did nothing wrong because she's literally perfect, but she also feels immense guilt because authors can never commit to having a main character that is actually just a bad person, or someone who's not a bad person, but they've done bad things. That would get in the way of self-insert wish fulfillment. Who would want to read about someone different than them? Who would want to read about people with different life experiences and moral codes and ways of approaching the world? Not me! That sounds boring. Oro also, because he has the Threads of Time, he sees the ghost of his dead brother, whose name is Egon. I guess that's a thing. We're just seeing dead ghosts of siblings all over the place. You know, both him and Grimm have dead siblings whose ghosts haunt them because they are just the same character. They're both just the hot leader dude who Isla falls in love with. But one of them is supposed to be edgy, and the other one isn't. Back in the magical forest, Isla fights some monsters. Anytime they go anywhere, just assume that they're fighting some monsters or other creatures that have barely been mentioned or never been mentioned and just aren't that interesting. Just assume they do that anytime they go anywhere. And then Cronin appears, and even though he's an ancestor of Grimm from many generations back, he looks exactly like him.
That's dumb!
Once again, that's just such a dumb trope that you see sometimes in, like, time travel stories or stories involving characters that are immortal. Like, just someone's ancestor from hundreds of years ago looks exactly like them. Like, one of these days, someone needs to write that in there and then throw in a twist that apparently the protagonist is just face blind and they look nothing alike. You know, that would actually be kind of amusing. Meanwhile, Grimm physically assaults Oro because he hurt his feelings, and then Oro finally fights back and Grimm is just shocked. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! How dare this person defend himself from my unwarranted aggression? Doesn't he know who I am? I am the love interest of the main character. I can hurt people all I want. He's just such a violent asshole all the time to everyone, including Isla. So it's not even like, oh, he's mean to everyone, but he has a soft spot for her. Like, no, he's a mean asshole to her too. And that's supposed to be hot, I guess. Anyways, Cronin attacks Isla, and then she severs her bond to Grimm and Oro because I guess she can do that. Even though it was a major plot point in earlier books that the bond, the link was just there, and she couldn't do anything about it, I guess she can just sever it now. Anyways, Cronin wants Infinite, the magical diamond, but he can't just take it from her because magical bullshit reasons. It doesn't matter. Anyways, Oro also sees another ghost, the ghost of Horace Ray, one of the founders of LIGHTL4RK and his own ancestor. I just want to take a moment to point out that rey is the Spanish word for king.
I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
Now, it's not until this moment that it's actually revealed that Oro is seeing these ghosts because the threads of time allow him to see through time, which is kind of interesting, but it doesn't lead anywhere. Maybe it'll inspire another writer to do something interesting with that idea, though. Maybe. You know, that's the only silver lining in this book series, is like, it brings up some cool ideas, and maybe someone else will utilize those for something. So Lark and Isla get beaten by Cronin and then sent to a dungeon, and most of the rest of the book takes place there. Like, this part here is about 100 pages into the book, so the 100 pages of the two of them trying to escape from Cronin wound up being completely meaningless, but whatever. Also, I am just now realizing that Cronin kind of sounds like Kronos, you know, the Greek god of time. I don't think that was deliberate, because Cronin doesn't have any time powers, and there don't seem to be any other references to Greek mythology there, but I don't know, that seems worth noting. So Cronin tries to break into Isla's mind using magic, but she's just too good at resisting, and he sees some of her memories, and just so that we all know that he's evil, he continues to say evil things. "How foolish," Cronin said, his voice echoing through her head. "You can never trust anyone," he said. "Not unless you control them." Subtle. Really, really, really subtle. Look, Cronin's entire character is that he wants to go out and conquer planets and conquer entire galaxies so that he can steal their power. And that is cartoony, but shit, man, at least it's something. It's better than cursing multiple kingdoms because your boyfriend left you. Which I know most of you have probably forgotten, but yes, that is what caused the curses in the first LIGHTL4RK book. So Oro and Isla have a psychic conversation, even though she severed their link earlier, but whatever, they can have a psychic conversation across different worlds. That's a thing they can do now. But she also psychically has sex with Grimm, too, just in case you were wondering who the winner of this love triangle was supposed to be. Anyways, they summon Horus Ray, again, the founder of LIGHTL4RK, and ask for help getting Isla back. And I just need to take a moment to point out that Grimm, in the past couple of books, was calling Isla Heart Eater, which I mentioned before sounded like a racial slur, and now he just calls her Heart. And yeah, that still kind of sounds like a racial slur. It just sounds like a shortened version of a racial slur. It's like if you called your wife a So despite being tortured by Cronin, Isla is able to magically leave her cell temporarily and then magically find a magic pool. It's called the Pool of Possibilities, and if you look into it, it shows you how things would have gone if you made different decisions in your life. But also prophecies are a thing, so isn't fate predetermined, and doesn't it not actually matter because we don't actually have any choices? Whatever. This book shows us an amazing twist, which is that if Isla had never killed her parents, she would still have her parents. They would still be alive. And if she was better behaved, they would never have gotten divorced. In the pool, she also sees Aurora, who was, oh, right, yeah, her evil best friend who caused all the curses back in book 1. Yeah, you forgot, so did I, it's fine. Aurora, she sees her in the Pool of Possibilities, and then she starts crafting a plan to defeat Cronin. "Why?" she said. "Why have you torn galaxies apart? Why use this power for destruction?" He smirked down at her as if she was the greatest fool in existence. "Some worlds deserve to be destroyed." She didn't believe that. "Every world is worth fighting for." Okay. Like, that line is very obviously there to try and make Isla sound heroic, but it just sounds dumb and corny. So she manages to snatch his crown and then put it on, taking his power. And then they fight for a bit, and she breaks his crown because she can just do that. And then she gets beat up. But she summons Grimm from the other world. He's able to come through now, and he fights on her behalf because no matter how special and powerful the main character is, she's still a woman, and she still needs a man to do all the important stuff for her. Seriously, women authors, you really need to, like, look deep inside yourselves and realize the messages that you're sending. Because I have seen this trope so many goddamn times. Meanwhile, Oro is sad because Isla loves Grim more, and then a creature attacks him and he fights it and kills it. Now, back in the other world, Grim nearly kills Isla because... Look, guys, every time something occurs in these books, I either don't know what's happening or I don't know why it's happening. Sometimes both. Like, I'm just reading through my notes that I wrote as I was reading this, and I said, I think Cronin mind-controlled him, and I'm aware I could go back and reread, but I'm not doing that. Fucking sue me. And later, it is confirmed that Cronin deleted some of his memories to make him want to fight Isla, and yeah, Cronin can just erase people's memories. He does it to Grim, but he never does it to anybody else, because... So Isla flees into the desert and finds a small village. She says that she's running from her husband, which is technically true, yeah, but then Grim immediately catches her and brings her back to Cronin. Now, Cronin actually makes her an offer. He says, if you serve me and help me conquer more galaxies, then I will let you live, which honestly makes him far more reasonable than any other villain so far. Like, the other villains just kind of do evil shit for inexplicable reasons, or no reason. Cronin wants to conquer stuff, and he wants Isla's power, and he wants the infinite diamond. So he makes her an offer to try and get her on his side, which is the way you would expect a leader to act. A real leader, not somebody who is just named as the king or the queen and then runs around collecting magical MacGuffins and never actually does anything relating to leading and never makes any decisions or anything like that. Again, a weirdly common trope, but LIGHTL4RK is just the worst example of that trope. So in the dungeon, Lark gives Isla a pep talk, which is weird because I thought she was evil 10 minutes ago, but whatever. Apparently, Cronin has been holding her prisoner for thousands of years, so I guess they're just friends now. Which does raise important questions, like, why was Lark evil in the last book? Shouldn't she have tried to form a partnership with the heroes in order to fight Cronin? Don't think about it. Seriously, don't think about it. I have to think about this shit, and it's a curse. So Isla resolves to find Cronin's weakness, because however powerful he is, he must have some sort of weakness. And let's read off some more notes that I wrote as I was reading. I'm sure she'll beat him. The next book will introduce a new guy who was really pulling the strings, because the villains in these books so far have gone from Aurora to Grim to Lark to Cronin, and every time after they're beaten, it's revealed that they're not the real threat. Well, I was kind of right. So Lark tells Isla to get a magic feather to free them, because the feather is like the source of her power or whatever, and Cronin has his hands on it. So Isla agrees to do that, and so she goes to Cronin and tells him, hey, I will work with you, because she wants to have an opportunity to get out of the dungeon and find the feather. Now, Grimm's memories are gone, and Isla tries to tell him that they're in love and they're married, and he just denies it. And she says, quote, love is a choice, and you made it. You can tell the author really thought she was cooking with that one. Like, you can tell she really thought she was just being deep. Because his memories are gone. If you want to get him to care about you again, maybe remind him of why he fell in love with you to start. You know, give him some reasons why he fell in love with you. Like, gosh, there are so many reasons why he fell in love with Isla, I can't even think of any. Like, she just has so many facets to her fucking personality. I can't even name any of them. Anyways, Isla kills one of her prison guards, and if you want to know how she kills one of her prison guards, well, she takes a rib from when she's out eating dinner, and then she sharpens it, and then as a guard is walking by her cell, she just looks at him and says, the ceiling! And then he looks up like a dumbass, goes, huh? And then it exposes his neck, so she stabs him in the neck and kills him.
You are really dumb, for real.
Like, this book is really trying to make Isla look smart and resourceful, but it just makes that guy look really fucking stupid. There are many more scenes of Isla trying to make Grim fall in love with her again. The problem is that her personality is so non-existent, she doesn't make any progress. Now, Cronin just gives Lark her feather back. Like, yeah, Isla didn't need to find it anywhere. He just gives it back to her, and she won't use it against him because she loves him. Man, these types of books always treat love Like it's some sort of magical infection you get and it never goes away. Like, Lark loves the evil man who made her life hell. This is because, well, she just loves him, okay? It's an unchangeable state of being. It's not an emotion, which is beautiful, but ultimately temporary. Isla lets Cronin see into her mind. She also looks into his mind and discovers his weakness. I still don't even know what his weakness is. I've finished the book now. I'm still not quite sure what she sees there. There's going to be a duel tomorrow for reasons. Isla and Grimm are going to fight to the death, except during the duel, she shows him his old memories. Because she can do that now. And then he remembers, and then she wins, and then Cronin holds Grimm hostage. So Isla takes him to the pool of possibilities, which is what he wanted to see earlier. And then at the pool of possibilities, they fight a little bit, and Cronin breaks Isla's neck. But that was all her plan, because she heals. She's able to draw power from the pool. She can just do that now. She's the main character. Then she gets trapped in the pool, and she takes Cronin's crown, even though I thought she broke it earlier, but I guess it's back now. But she takes his crown, along with all the power that it has. But she can't kill him, for some reason. Now, using the crown, the threads of time, and Grimm's portal ability, she can travel through time. Sure. I guess that's what this was all building towards. Sure, fuck it. So she goes off to find the one special blade that can kill Cronin. I guess we just need to go on another MacGuffin hunt. And she can't take anyone else with her, and Grimm is like really sad about this because we need conflict. And then she meets with Oro, and then the book ends. This is the third LIGHTL4RK book in a row that ends with Isla magically leaving one or both of her boyfriends for inscrutable reasons, while the other one, or both of them, cries in the metaphorical cuck chair. Like, go back and watch my old videos. That's how Nightbane ended, and that's how Skyshade ended.
I don't know, man. I was banging 7-gram rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll. I have one speed, I have one gear. Go!
So, more than anything else, LIGHTL4RK is known for not making sense. Or at least in my mind, LIGHTL4RK is known for not making sense more than anything else. The world and magic are pure nonsense which only exist while Isla is looking directly at them. There are a dozen things in this book that I could go on about at length, like how apparently Grimm's father spent centuries fighting to take over other kingdoms, but the borders never changed, like at all. No other kingdoms got conquered, no tribes ever got wiped out or assimilated, like no one got tired of his shit and formed an alliance to destroy the Nightshades. Everyone just fought, and nothing ever changed until the main character came along. Only she's special enough to change anything. Cronin's powers are mostly stored in his crown, but Isla can break it very easily, and after it's broken he can still do all the same things. How does this artifact work? How do any of the magic artifacts in these books work? I don't know. Okay, I'm setting this down. It's just getting in the way now. Hold on. Why is there a prison at the bottom of the ocean? And why did the two most powerful kings in the world, who have been ruling for centuries, not know about this prison until someone tells them at the beginning of the book? Like, sure, it's cool, but it's not as cool as it would be if it made sense. You know, I have a brain that thinks, and it makes reading LIGHTL4RK very difficult for me. How is there no founding legend or myth that mentions Cronin? Like, at all. No, they have stories about Lark and the other founders, but they have nothing about the man who they were fleeing from when they came to this new world, and he also kind of helped create this new world. Like, again, it doesn't make sense. This backstory doesn't add up. But whatever, we just don't have any real myths or legends about that. Like, you would expect the people of LIGHTL4RK to have a religious reverence for this sort of thing, but instead it's all secret. Shh. If this had been better planned from the start, there could be some neat twists and some neat reveals here. Like if there were myths and vague tales about the land they all came from, then Cronin's appearance could have been a great moment. You know, he could be built up to as the ultimate evil. Because I'm assuming he's the final villain, but I also kind of assumed that Lark would be the final villain in the last book, and they just kind of switched her out at the beginning of this one. So, I don't know, we'll see. And I could keep going, but I'm not going to. You know, normally I like doing world-building analysis because I feel like I'm peeling back the layers. You know, I'm noticing things the author never thought of, and I'm noticing things that most other people never thought of. You know, I find contradictions or obscure consequences of decisions, and like, I just enjoy doing that. Sometimes it's educational, sometimes it's just funny, but it's difficult, and it requires time, it requires energy, and it requires research. That's where my enjoyment comes from. You know, the fun is not the end product, the fun is the process. With LIGHTL4RK, everything is just too easy. You know, anybody with half a brain can see all of the same stuff that I'm seeing, so it's kind of boring for me. Like, if I point out stuff that's dumb about the world building in LIGHTL4RK, everyone else just goes, yep, we saw that too. I'm not saying world building analysis is boring for me in general now, it's just boring for this particular book series. Nothing makes sense, let's just move on. I don't want to talk about how Cronin conquers tons of galaxies that all have people living on individual planets. How many planets has he conquered? Who knows? A lot, probably. Thousands? Millions? No idea. He could be some sort of eldritch being, but, like, no, he's just a guy. And in spite of potentially thousands or millions of worlds being at his beck and call, Isla's world, and Isla by extension, are far more important than all the rest of them combined. Any problems I find are unimportant, since that's what it's always really about. Like, this world only exists to find excuses to make Isla look cool.
Everyone knows Saturday night's fuck night. Bring 3 buckets.
Years ago, when the first LIGHTL4RK book came out, people described it as someone writing tropes and not much else, and I've agreed with that assessment the entire time. To be honest, it's a common problem nowadays. Isla is the chosen one. Why is Isla the chosen one? Because the story says so. Like, she's in the right places, she knows all the right things, and she has all the right powers just because. Like, she doesn't work for any of it or earn it, she just has it, and therefore she's the main character. She exists, and so she gets to be the hero. Now, she's not just the hero, though. She is the ultimate hero that does everything better than everyone else all the time. And to be honest, that's kind of why I hate prophecies in general, like just as a storytelling device. They're really stupid. Because most of the time, the prophecy just exists for the sake of it, and it rarely makes sense for the characters to actually believe in it. They just do, because prophecies are never wrong! Like, there's a lot of fantasy books that have some sort of prophecy, and they put the chosen one in charge of things. Why do they put the chosen one in charge of things? Well, because he's the chosen one, and the prophecy says that he has to be in charge of things. Like, the prophecy's just a circle. You know, why is he in charge? Because the prophecy said so. Why does the prophecy say so? Because he's in charge. Like, it's just circular logic. And that's all Isla Crown will ever be. She walks a path that was set up for her, and then she acts like a big shot when she finishes. This applies to every aspect of the story. It's just tropes, except they kind of removed the tropes. Like, Grimm is the brooding bad boy who is also hot, and that is it. He has literally nothing else to him. He has shadow powers to emphasize he's a bad boy, and he's way older than Isla because straight women have a weird thing for men that are way older than them.
Well, why you booing me? I'm right.
What personality does Grimm have? He doesn't fucking have any. He's just a trope. He just exists. And that's how everything has gone for the first 3 books. But LIGHTL4RK almost feels like we've even removed the tropes and there's nothing there to replace them. Like, Grimm isn't a bad boy anymore, he's just mind-controlled. There are some prophecies mentioned in this book, even though there were other prophecies before. Like, we just need to throw in new ones about how super cool and special Isla is. Like, Isla doesn't even really feel like the chosen one anymore, though, in spite of these prophecies. She just feels like Isla, and she does all the same things that a chosen one would do. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else to even say. How does one describe nothing? LIGHTL4RK is the empty void of space. There's nothing there. There's an outline where maybe something will happen eventually, but there's just nothing there right now.
I've connected the 2 dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
I cannot think of a single character in this book who I liked. Even if I were to go back to the previous LIGHTL4RK books, I cannot think of any single person in them who I liked. The closest I got in this book was Cronin, who isn't a good character, but he did at least entertain me a little bit. Like, he's an over-the-top, cackling, evil madman. That's dumb, but at least it's something. And he actually does manage to hold Isla prisoner for a while. She doesn't just instantly beat him through her power of being the protagonist, so hey, that's something. No one else has anything that makes them fun to read about at all. No one has any additional depth to them that I find thought-provoking or anything. No one else at all. Oro is just fucking boring. Isla is dumb. Lark is too mercurial for me to latch on to anything she does, like, at all. She's evil, but now she's working with Isla to escape Cronin, and now she's in love with Cronin, and now she's just kind of standing off to the side. Like, she's shifting and changing too much for me to say anything about her. Despite having 4 books now, over 1,700 pages of content, none of these characters are any different than when we first met them, nor have their relationships gone through any changes. Isla still loves Oro exactly like she did the moment she met him in book 1, just a little bit less than she loves Grimm. Why does she love Oro so much? Because she just does. Any conflicts they have are purely external. I love you, and I love being your wife, Grimm, but we have to save the world. Like, there's no tension as a result of their differing worldviews or different opinions or his refusal to not act like a fucking psycho all the time, because love isn't a feeling, it's a state of being. At least, that's how it works when shitty authors write it. The characters start swearing a lot more in this book for some reason. Like, mostly Grimm, he just says fuck a lot, which is fine, but it does feel out of place. Like, maybe Alex Astor is trying to make her books sound a bit less like every other young adult fantasy novel. I'm not sure, but like, the first couple of books they didn't talk like that, and now all of a sudden they're going, bullshit! You know what, you can suck my dick! Fuck! 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 Like, it's just odd and out of place, and honestly, if you're gonna try and go for a darker, more adult tone, then go for it, but it requires more than just using swear words. You know, write it like an adult novel. I'm assuming that you've read some of those, Miss Astor, but I guess it's possible you haven't. Speaking of Grimm, he still sucks. You know, he goes on and on about how he would destroy the world to protect Isla because he just loves her so much. And look, there's plenty of dudes that are like that in real life. You know, they say shit like that. They say, I would burn down the whole world just to see my daughter smile. But at the same time, the guys who say that won't even do the fucking dishes. You know, like, it's a sort of performance. Like, when Grimm says, I'd kill everyone for you, it's a performance. It allows him to feel like he's devoted to her without actually doing anything. You know, again, another real-life example of this would be all the middle-aged fat guys who say shit like, I would kill for my country, but then they refuse to wear a paper mask to help prevent the spread of a deadly virus. You know, like, one of those things is a fantasy that allows you to feel good about yourself. The other one requires you to actually do something. Like, it's just blatant virtue signaling. And virtue signaling is all Grimm has because he's a jerk. He acts tough, but only when he confronts people that he can easily defeat. When someone near his level approaches him, he immediately folds. And you know what that's called? That's a bully. Grimm is just a fucking bully. Like, he's genuinely shocked when he attacks Oro, and then Oro fights back. He's like, how dare you hit me? Like, he's just genuinely shocked. He's just such an asshole to everyone all the time that he forgets, yeah, sometimes people will hit back. What did you expect, moron? Like, I could elaborate a bit more, but honestly, that would just be repeating stuff from my earlier videos. Grimm is a violent bully who can't even do the one thing he claims he wants to do. He says he wants to protect Isla, but the instant Cronin appears on the scene, he gets brainwashed. Now, that's not really his fault, but if he can't protect Isla, then he has nothing of value to contribute to her life. Because that's the thing about bullies. They don't add any value to anything.
Denial is a river in Egypt. Your husband is gay.
So that's Crown Tide. I didn't like it very much. I heard there's supposed to be one more LIGHTL4RK book before it's finished, not counting the spin-offs. But I also thought that these books would be a trilogy to begin with, so maybe I'm wrong, maybe I've been misinformed. I don't think you understand how little effort I'm willing to put into researching this shit. Like, I could probably look it up, but I'm not going to. I just do not care. I am just invested enough that I want to see how this story ends, though. And weirdly enough, in every book, I do see some ways in which it's improving. Those are outweighed by the ways in which they're getting worse or staying the same, but I can see the diamonds in the cow shit. You know, I think Alex Astor wants to be a better writer. I think some of the criticisms that she's gotten over the past couple of years have sunk in, but she's either unable or unwilling to do what needs to be done. Like, she's unable to kill her darlings and go, okay, I have to rewrite some stuff, I have to do this in a different way, so it doesn't work. Or maybe LIGHTL4RK is just too bad. Maybe there's no fixing it and she just needs to finish the damn thing so that she can move on to something better. I don't know, man. But there are things in here that could be something if, you know, she had any idea what she was doing. Like, the ancient prison at the bottom of the ocean is cool. Back in book 1, all the mysterious curses for different kingdoms were cool. Oro seeing through time is kind of neat. Cronin could be a good villain, and even if he's not necessarily a good villain, he could at least be entertaining. But the books don't want to be about any of that stuff. They want to be about the specialist girl in the world and her hot, brooding boyfriend. Maybe it's silly of me to criticize these books for doing exactly what they want to do. Maybe. But here I am. I'll see you next time for LIGHTL4RK and the Order of the Phoenix. Goodbye. Hello to everyone, especially hello to the people who watched the entire video up until this point. You're awesome. These names you see on screen here, these are my patrons. I want to give a special shout out to my $10 and up patrons, 3Cat Day, Arthur D. Gonzalez Martin, Brother Santodes, Carolina Clay, Chaotic Entity 1, Chris Goldap, Lexi Delorme, Lord Tiebreaker, Michael and Katie Hake, Mr. A5013, Proscriptions of Dwojang, PsychXS, Toa Michael, Vey Victus, and Wesley. I could not do this without you guys. You being here really does mean the world to me. If you want to get your name on here, consider donating to my Patreon. It starts at just $1 a month. You can also become a YouTube channel member, or check out my merchandise store, or go over on Cameo and buy a shout out from me. Or if you don't feel like doing any of that, you can always just rate the video and comment on it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Did you know I have a second channel, which I haven't uploaded to in a while? Because I have one of those too. Anyways, yeah, see ya. Goodbye. There's no way to say goodbye here that doesn't sound awkward, but goodbye.